Hey y'all, so I'm gonna be basically recording a video and voiceover for my first time trying trans tape as a brand itself. Second time trying taping, and the first time that I tried, I think I tried a what's called boob tape from Good Lines, and it broke my skin out pretty bad. I wore it overnight, which I did not do with this tape. But I will let you all know I did take this tape to the spa. I think I was in 3 different hot tubs over the course of several hours. I even got into a mud bath at some point, and the tape didn't come off until we got into the final shower after the mud bath, which was particularly warm, almost like too warm for my skin. But after a while I adjusted and I started to notice the tape came off like super seamlessly. All that was left was a few spots of adhesive, which I just wanted to give my skin a few days to chill out before I try and like go in and like really aggressively get that off. But otherwise, those are my couple disclaimers, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull this video up so that I can go ahead and get started. And so I'm just showing off basically the tape here and kind of getting ready to put on some nipple guards. And how I did that was by putting some tissue paper, as you saw me hold up, sort of as big as my areolas, if not bigger. And then I took a piece of trans tape, even bigger than that, and put that on either sides before I started taping. So definitely want to use harm reduction measures when we're thinking about binding and taping. Harm reduction means we know that we're, engaging in things that can be of risk to ourselves. And so we want to do our best basically to reduce risk. You can see the toilet paper here. So, there's no reason that you should be dry ripping your tape off. That's not adhering to harm reduction. Normally you hear harm reduction used in terms for things like substance use and stuff like that. But I think in a late capitalist landscape, as long as we're not talking about white supremacy or capitalism itself, harm reduction is a great thing to just have in your back pocket because, it's very easy to let wherever our mental state is at dictate how we treat our bodies. And harm reduction kind of helps put barriers around, that, so we don't lose sight of what's important, which is caring for our bodies. And as you can see, I am still covering up the nips so that I can turn around and show y'all. Placing the second. So I really tried not to put much tension at all on these. I just wanted to make sure that the skin underneath was taut enough to the tape. So I didn't want the skin to be scrunched up underneath taut tape, if that makes sense, because there is a lot of loose and hanging skin, as you can see. And so similar to how they had in Bo's tutorial for trans tape, I tried to follow what I remembered from that tutorial pretty closely. So as you see, I did the nipple guards, and then I'm also now cutting out my pieces kind of ahead of time. I was sort of hoping that I could get away with only using 4 pieces, but I think I ended up using something like 6 or 8. And so in the future, I'd recommend cutting out all of your pieces ahead of time. Even if you cut more than you end up needing, that means that you have more for next taping session. And then secondly, what I also recommend is softening the corners, rounding them off with a good pair of scissors. And pro tip, if you want to save yourself some time in cleanup, have a little waste bin or a plastic bag handy when you cut these corners off, because here I ended up having to brush them up all off my bed, and that backing starts to come off after a while. And so it's nice to just kind of have a spot for that to go while you're doing it, so you don't have to do it later. ADHD pro tip. And then again, while I am cutting corners, I'm going to the other thing I also wanted to pay attention to here is when you're cutting into materials like this, or even paper, if you sort of cut more than you intend and then go back to try and even out your line, you're gonna end up with a jagged edge, so to speak, in the edge of your tape. And so you'll see me kind of going back around some spots, and that's just to try and get rid of that so the tape doesn't rip. And then secondly, you see me doing a tip here that I got from the owner of Trans Tape, or the inventor or the owner of the business company, which is when you have your whole strip, you're going to want to take the end portion of it and sort of just pull down one of the lines. And this is going to give you sort of pull tabs to place the start and end of your piece. And then that way you don't touch the middle section while you're placing it. So you can see here, I went ahead and placed it similarly to how Beau placed his, right underneath the curve of my, right underneath the curve and to the side. So that's where I placed my first piece. And what's important here is if you have flat space in the middle, you want to try and basically get as far out as you can without leaving any mass in the center. And that is going to help when it comes to if you want to wear a shirt with a couple buttons unbuttoned. But also you want to start from the bottom and work your way up, especially if you're not using the new 7-inch tape that they have. I ordered literally twice. Maybe I'll talk about it in another video. I got this Trans Tape for free and not from the company either. I got it from I got it from a Black Trans Mask organized clothing donation event. A lot of words. But as you can see, I started with the first one under, and I'm gonna work my way up. Because with the bigger chest, it's like I've seen people try to go for taping down. I will eventually try that, but I really didn't like the idea of this basically getting trapped and taped under and my skin just kind of sweating underneath all that tape. And so at least with this, wherever I'm gonna have under boob sweat, there is technically something contacting my skin, so it's not skin to skin sandwiching sweat. But with that being said, I also worked each side at the same time. From being a little makeup kid in middle school and high school, I learned my lesson of do both sides at the same time, work both sides at the same time, because if you're going off base, it's a lot easier to notice that side by side than to do one whole one and then try and replicate everything you did on that side. So that's what you see me doing here. I'm placing that second one underneath the other side, basically my left side, I think. And then you can see here I'm sitting up, and I think I'm skeptical at this point because there's still a lot of tissue to displace. But ultimately, it is getting somewhere. The other thing you'll notice here is like my top of my chest is pretty flat. Like if I were to just be in a picture up to here, you might even think that I'm pretty flat chested. But obviously there is a lot of mass down here, and so I'll be curious as time goes on if it's possible for me to try like taping down and then sideways or something of that nature. But I don't know how to not include my stomach, because what I'm ultimately trying to do is like move the tissue sort of to take up this space where my hip comes in. But even just pushing this little bit, like while we're doing this, it's like that hurts. So something I didn't think about also is I experienced a decent amount of discomfort after I was all packed into this, and I think it might have been because that time of the month was coming up on me literally just days later. And you'll see a couple times throughout the video, I also unstick and restick the tape. That is because it hurt and it was pulling in weird ways. But again, I've got one piece on each side. And so far, this is basically just securing the jiggling to either side. That's all that this has done so far. And again, as I said before, cutting off all of these corners is annoying. So doing it in the beginning and making sure you have a little receptacle nearby to catch everything is gonna make it so that you can get out the door to where you need to go that much quicker. We're at 10:18, 10 minutes 19, 10 minutes 21, 10 minutes 22, 10 minutes 23. Just giving myself timestamps to align these because I've never done anything like this before. And also something, I wasn't being super diligent about the length of the strips that I was cutting. I was using like the previous strip to match it up. But I think in the future, I'd like to get pretty precise about what measurements I do like to use, because I found after continuing to use the same strip, once I got to my last couple pieces, I really had to try and stretch to get it to touch skin, and in some points it actually didn't make contact with skin because it just wasn't long enough. I still ended up managing to get a sufficient taping down, but I would say in the future, I would want to, again, experiment with the way that I apply them. But I'm happy with this for this kind of being like the first time. Because the other thing about the tape that I tried previously from Good Lines is I think that tape is like 3 or 4 inches. So obviously for somebody with as much hang as I have, to work with a narrower tape was really not doing me any justice, because like, as you can see here, one strip of tape has really only like just started to touch the underboob, and it's in some parts not even covering the nip. So again, just ripping open the tape on either side to give me some tabs, and you can hear I'm already exasperated. Like this is an intensive get ready. There's no other really way to put it. And while we're here, I will also plug my GoFundMe for top surgery, which I just started fundraising for. And so if you or somebody you know is interested in helping a Black trans person get gender affirming care, please feel free to click the link in the bio and share that, if you will, on your social media platforms, in your group chats, whatever. Every little bit counts, and it's much appreciated. I know some folks will probably see the fund is maybe more than, like the goal is more than people may expect, but something to keep in consideration is that one, top surgery itself is expensive, period. 2, I obviously have a large chest, a lot of tissue, and something that surgeons often talk about is like if you lay down and your chest tissue just kind of drapes over the ribs and chest neatly, then you most likely are okay to get some of the less invasive, so to speak, top surgery procedures. Otherwise, in cases like mine, they often have to do a double incision, which means going all the way underneath to take all of this tissue, and then oftentimes taking everything out as well and just skin grafting the nipple on. I, for my own life, enjoyment, and purposes, would really like to keep the sensation in my nipples and not just have them be for show. And so part of the expense of the surgery is having literal like nerve surgery done so that I can have that sensation still, which most trans masc folks are not fortunate enough to be able to have that, whether because they had their surgery before this became common practice, or because many other circumstances, impossible decisions that we're forced to make because. And so with that being said, the surgery is a bit more expensive. And then on top of that, I also work for myself. And so unlike, you know, sometimes folks are able to seek out different means of how to support themselves, either to get surgery, during surgery or after. I make all of my own money. And if I'm not working, then I'm not making money. Literally just being down for a couple days is not financially feasible for me. And so with that being said, yeah, I am looking for community support to be able to get the gender affirming care that I need and to be able to help support me as an independent artist, not wanting to exploit my labor in order to have gender affirming care. And so again, if you can support, I greatly appreciate that. Otherwise, I will get back to the point of the video. But as you can see here, I've got my second piece of tape on, and now we have pretty much covered up the nip, which is awesome. And then you can see here again, I'm having some issues with the tape. But what's happening is I would tape it while being sort of upright, and then go to kind of like relax my torso and start to feel this pinching occurring on my sides. And so again, laying back down, got my pull tabs ready. And I think at this point, I'm starting to place the piece that goes underneath and pulls up to start trying to shape the chest tissue into more of a pec-like shape. And so with this, I placed the bottom tab with very little tension. I remove some of the paper backing, and then I literally would pull the paper backing, and at the same time pulling some of the tape as well. And so like pull, place, and that's something you see Bo do really well in his demonstration. Obviously, I only have one camera, which means I only have one angle, and I do apologize that it's not as effective, but that's why I also am coming in to have this second explanation of what's going on, and I'm showing you after each tape to show you kind of what's happening.
Ooh, this does kind of, just a little bit.
You can notice here I'm having to remove that last little piece again because it's pulling just too tight on my skin. And then secondarily, you can see there's kind of extra boob off to the side. I'm touching my wrist so much in this. But there's extra chest tissue off to the right side, left side for viewing purposes. I think if I were to do this again and I knew what outfit I was gonna wear, I might stop there, because whatever I continue to do moving forward, I think actually just added to my discomfort. But with that being said, yeah, I think that the inner, what I have going on that inside section, after I put the vertical piece, I'm pretty happy with that appearance. And then I'm just doing the same thing on the other side, again placing that bottom piece with no friction at all, literally like just putting it on the skin and making sure there's no wrinkles, and then removing some of the backing, pulling to have some tension, placing it on the skin, again pulling to have some tension, placing on the skin, and just you're basically gradually displacing that tension, so not any single part of your skin is like, you know, if you boop, boop, pull, pull and press, you're more likely to get an even displacement of tissue. And so again, now you can see both sides are pretty much done, except on the one side, on the right side, that on your right side, you can see that there's more chest tissue hanging in the center. So I probably could have done a better job of, like, when I went to pull and place tension, I should have probably pulled more before placing the tape and attaching around. And so I'm cutting some additional pieces here. And just trying to see like what it's giving at the moment. Like I was saying, I think most of what you're looking for with trans tape is happening in this center. And then the best thing you can do is putting on like a jean jacket, a button-up shirt, or something to kind of hide the mass that's on the side as a bigger chested person. And so looking at the center, I would say, I think my left side, from what you're viewing, I think I would say that looks moobish enough for me. And I think the right side, it still looks too much like boob tape. Like I'm trying to just put my boobs up and not away. And I should probably mention, I don't have an issue referring to my chest as boobs. I know that's not how everyone feels, but yeah, that is how I refer to and talk about my body for now. And if that makes folks uncomfortable, I can appreciate and understand that, but I will not change my language for that reason. If you've watched my other videos, I think that language can often lend itself to the linking between transness and self-hatred that I am not trying to perpetuate. Same thing of perpetuating the whole like wrong body narrative. I wasn't born into the wrong body. This is still mine, you know. But anyway. Again, sitting here cutting off these corners. And just as much time as I spent cutting off corners, I'm gonna be spending that much time sweeping them up off the web. And again, you can even see here what I'm talking about of how the chest tissue is falling on your right side. There's still a lot of tissue that's in the front and not angled to the side. It's almost angled forward. And then on the left side, you could see it's pretty much angled away. And if you kind of like hold your hand and cover it up, you can see from this angle that it looks a lot smaller just from, yeah. But anyway. So at this point, I'm noticing the lack of symmetry. Lying back down to have gravity help me. And then because I'm trying to go back and forth, I end up putting this piece again sort of on my sternum and pushing this tissue out. But like I said, I think that knowing what I know now, I might have left that piece alone. The other thing is I only ended up having my shirt on for a short period of time for the day. And then afterwards we headed off to a spa, like I said. And so I was shirtless most of the day. And so maybe would have thought about aesthetics a little bit more or whatever. But again, like I said, for my first time using trans tape specifically, I'm okay with this. I think in the future, I'd be curious to use the KT tape, although it's extremely expensive. But I would be worried, considering how much tension is required to keep my chest up. I don't know if the adhesive would be strong enough. Yeah. Okay. So pretty much good on your left side. We're good, we're done. I would say that is pretty much a perfect tape job. It feels crazy because you got to think what normally is however much weight here is normally hanging and also laying literally on my belly. All of this, it's not pulling here. It, for the most part, lays on my stomach or it lays in my bra, holding onto my shoulders. But tape, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what it must feel like to get implants, because all of a sudden you've just got shit literally just here and packed on your chest. Like it's tight, it's uncomfortable. Like if you want to know whether you would feel comfortable again successfully taping as a larger chested person, or if comfort's not your main concern, for me, I'm like, if you want to feel what that feels like without hurting yourself, just trying to apply pressure on your chest as evenly as possible. Or again, if you've ever like laid down and like laying on your chest is super uncomfortable, that mashed feeling is uncomfortable, that's what this pretty much feels like. But it literally is like all around and almost like in the boob is like discomfort, and you're kind of like feeling like uncomfortable sensations throughout, but then it's also like on the surrounding skin, because that's everything that's literally holding it in place. And again, just showing you all of this trash that I ended up picking up after putting that piece down with as little tension as possible. And again, this side wasn't as I preferred it to be. But I was practicing, the roll was free, and I really wanted to make this video really badly. And so I tried, once I had the tape and I had a reason to wear it, I was ready to go. The only thing I wish I had is more footage from the spa, but like, you can take my word for it. Like, and again, I took it off by the end of the night. The whole point of going to the spa was to relax and to try and, not get content. Plus, there's a whole thing of like privacy and more of a headache than it's worth. And one last time, I'm just prepping my strips and ripping the tabs. I think something I'm noticing is that the strips are getting a little shorter. And I don't know if it's the first piece or what, but I'm noticing that there's just how that right side, your right side is distributed. It's not as expected. I almost wish I had a ceiling mirror. Yeah, that's the word, to look at while I'm laying down, because I think that might have helped figure out what was the issue, basically. I think the other thing I'm noticing here, I don't know if I did this while applying it, but I'm applying it on your right side while also turning again, and the volume of the chest is naturally going to be more here than here. And so just things I'm noting to maybe help you and myself do a better tape job in the future. And I think at this point I'm done, but you can see the same tissue I talked about when it comes to surgery is all bunched up right at my armpit. And that was not very comfortable either. I think at some point I ended up cutting into one of those pieces because it was literally just like the tape was taping together a roll and it was just very uncomfortable. So I cut it apart and let it loose. You can see me here trying to lift my arms above my head. That was a no-go. I literally said here, I might have it on too tight. And so I'm like literally pulling up and trying to place the tape back down.
This is perfect. This,
Not my food, please.
This is the, there's just too much here. Like I got this really flat and I didn't get this really flat. So I'm like, do I like tape this down? I'm just worried like that doesn't.
And I'm just trying on some clothing options.
This sounds fine. For sure. This, not so much. This could pass for man boob.
And I'm just basically saying here, your left side could pass for a man boob, but I think the right side is just the way it's taped is not working.
I think I was supposed to be farther.
But ultimately, I think the more successful tape was the more uncomfortable.
It's like it's all. Look at this. Like maybe this one.
And you can see also here, when I pulled that piece up, there's so much that's not touching the skin. That's something that I would also probably change in the future. I'm kind of curious if with a 7-inch tape, if it's possible to just do one pass and then one pass. Probably not. I would say you probably still need those 2 pieces. And then I think I'm debating about adding another piece. I think for symmetry's sake, definitely would have been smart. But at this point, I think we're getting to like the point of diminished returns, basically.
I feel like I should try to get it here. I'm gonna try. I think it doesn't work. But what I do need is something to try to fucking rip it.
And another thing is I was having trouble getting the sides to stick because my armpits were sweating.
Of course it did.
Thank you, testosterone.
Pulling the skin off. Damn. Okay, so we want.
And as you may have seen, just bending over to go pick up that piece of tape was pulling my skin.
Like this. And actually, I want to take care of that. So we want to be like here.
You can kind of see the taping method I'm talking about here, but ultimately I don't think that that did anything. As you can see, I'm so engrossed and focused in what I'm doing that like there was just no way all of the steps that needed to be done to secure that much tissue, it wasn't.
Okay. Dang, that's better now than this side.
Although,
But it'll do. I still feel like there's too much. I didn't get this far into the side. Wow. I mean, this definitely is not where I'd like.
but yeah, I'm like basically struggling with it not being as good as I wanted it to be.
Here, there's boop.
And you'll see that basically unfold over the next 5 minutes of this video.
I don't know. Yeah, okay. I don't think I maybe got the best. Oh yeah, I could also like stop putting the chest out and that would help a little. I'm gonna put a binder on. Hopefully this isn't like bad for my health or anything. I can breathe fine, but my chest feels crazy. Oh. Ugh.
And this I would also like I said, the tape was already starting to hurt.
To make more up, plus like I'm not really trying to get compression, I'm just trying to get camouflaging to happen. It's done. But people said that they put binders on so that it can like melt everything into place. So okay. Let's put this back on. I mean, I feel so incredibly tight, like that it's uncomfortable, but I think we are on to something. Whoa.
I think the other thing I was starting to notice is just like
okay.
the chest could pass as masculine, but my arms weren't big enough to pass that side of chest. Or to go with that size chest, I should say.
Are you ready?
My shoulders are broad, but my arms themselves, like, it's just, you know, I'm strong, but I ain't that strong. Yes, yes. Here I am trying on another shirt.
Where we can boogie.
I think this looks better from the angle y'all are looking at than the angle I was looking at it. But if you could start to see, my neck is disappearing because there's a ledge in between the camera lens and my neck. And that's my tips.
I think this part, I mean, realistically, I think it's fine. Like, I think I'm tripping, to be honest with you. Because I think it just makes me bulkier.
And I would agree. I think I was tripping.
It doesn't feel good, like, at all.
But it is bulky.
And they still gotta sit like titties. This is a thin shirt. So I just wish like binder has no real integrity. Like,
And even hear me trying to
back against the shirt.
adjust my expectations. I'm also not in love with the binder. Part of why I didn't
Definitely seems
promote it.
off.
I'm also not affiliated, so.
You have to like get a new posture to pull this off. But it works. I mean,
I think this would have been fine with a thicker shirt, but at the same time, this shirt is better for the climate I live in.
you just need a bigger shirt.
I think I proceeded to try on a couple more shirts for 2 minutes. Again, this shirt was just too small.
Can we pass the t-shirt test?
And I'm trying on one of my t-shirts that I wear pretty often that I think is like a 2X. I try not to wear shirts this big because they tend to make my shoulders and arms look small. But anything smaller makes everything else look how it looks. And again, you know, I just think at a certain point, on the left side is fine, but the right side is just, there is a ledge underneath that the shirt keeps falling. Shimmy chest, nothing's going anywhere. Anyway, they feel like they're sitting at my neck, but I guess this is what we got, so we're going. So, and that is my first time trying to trans tape. And like I said before, I did not pay for this tape. I got it free. It seemed like somebody hadn't used it and it was still in the wrapping. And I am still trying to decide whether I want to buy the 7-inch tape or not for a third time and see if it makes it to my door. But ultimately, like I said, I still have to think about that pain and discomfort. You know, especially as I'm pursuing top surgery, I do worry about the health and safety of my skin and all of the, you know, biological things that go on in my chest. And so, with that being said, I definitely could see myself using it again. But at the same time, I kind of just want to get better at picking clothes that fit the climate I live in, fit my body type, and can work with pretty mild binders, because I've already had back issues most of my life and I would like to put that in my past. And so with that being said, this has already been a pretty long video. I may leave it full length just because that means that people can kind of watch it while they're putting their tape on, and it can take similarly to as long as it took me. And if I make it shorter, it might be more digestible, but I don't know. I kind of prefer to be on in the background and coaching you through a little bit than to be a quick fix guide. And so I hope this helps, because I could not find anybody with my size chest or bigger making a video, and so I wanted to put one out there. And if I ever have the opportunity to film a better one, I will try my best to do so. But otherwise, I hope that everybody has a good rest of their day. Drink some water, get some sun if you still can. And yeah, love y'all.